Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the William J. Conboy Legislative Chambers. My name is Andrew Joyce, and I serve as chair of the Albany County Legislature. The rules of the Albany County Legislature allow for a period of public comment before our monthly meetings. Our rules prohibit members of the public from questioning legislators and prohibit us from questioning you. This is your time to speak and our time to listen. On that later note, I'd ask all members please provide your attention to the speakers and limit sidebar discussions, and also silence your mobile devices. In accordance with our rules of order, speakers will be allowed 3 minutes each. We do have 11 speakers tonight, and our meeting must begin at 7:30. I ask everyone again to please silence their cell phones, and Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Beston. Bergdorf. Chapman. Clay. Cleary. Collins. Camiso. Cunningham. Demolowitz. Drake. Efacoro. Ethier. Feeney. Fine. Grimm. Andrew Joyce. Ray Joyce. Kuhn. Lakakis. Lockhart. Muriello. Mayo. McLaughlin. McLean Lane. Miller. O'Brien. Purley. Peter. Plosky. Reedy. Reinhardt. Ricard. Rosano. Simpson. Smith. Tunney. Ward. Whalen. Willingham. I have 33 present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, please read the name of the first speaker.
Carol Wardeman.
Hi. I was prepared tonight to talk about the XL voting machines, and when I say prepared, I mean really, really prepared on all the research, anything anybody wanted to know. And so that's what I was going to do tonight. But then Andrew Joyce pulled the rug out from under me, okay? And my representative, Mickey Cleary, told me that Andrew had told him that we are not getting those machines, okay? And yay, yes, definitely, yes. Okay. Now, my view of those machines was best summarized by Mark Grimm at one of the hearings, where he said it is a little bit nuts. Well, I'm going to revise that a little. It was a lot nuts. It was totally nuts, okay? Now, apparently, they are dead. And I'm just hoping that they're not the undead, like zombies, and that they're going to come back. But if they do, I and some other people I know, we're ready for them, okay? I want to, first of all, about that, thank Andrew and the Democrats, some of whose positions I know, spoke up against these machines. And I want to thank all the Republicans, because they were apparently unanimous in opposing these machines. Another thank you I want to issue today is about Local Law G. I want to thank Allison for Local Law G. And you will find that if you picked up one of those packets, it's close to the end. And if you work backwards, you'll see a copy of Local Law G. And you all know me well enough to know by now, when you read it, that I am absolutely overjoyed by Local Law G. and I'm hoping that there will be widespread bipartisan support, and actually it would be nice if it were unanimous. So, anyway, oh, that's okay, I'm almost done. One more sentence. And Andrew, I want to thank you for protecting our right to vote. Okay.
Serena Jalal.
Hello, everyone. I'm here as a daughter, a sister, a mother, a citizen of this community. And I'm here with men, women, and children, my neighbors of all faiths. And we are asking you to send a strong message to the federal representatives that represent Albany County that the people of Albany County demand an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. As a Muslim woman, I remember vividly Ghazala Khan, the mother of a U.S. Army captain who was killed in Afghanistan. Ghazala stood by her husband as he addressed the 2015 Democratic National Convention. She became a figurehead for the Trump campaign. Her silence was a supposed display of oppression. Yet today, when I came with my friends and I brought a display of cotton balls to represent each of the lives lost, Israeli and Palestinian, I was not allowed to bring them in. As Muslim Americans, we face constant contradictions. Our professionals and our youth, they face retaliation when they speak up. Our children are subject to harassment and name-calling. When our women are brave enough to speak up like Rashida, they are silenced, and when they are silent like Ghazala, they are considered oppressed by our faith. I thank God every day for the freedom that my faith has given me, because the reality is that every time I have come to this podium, it has been the hijab on my head and the Quran in my heart that compels me to speak out. And as long as there are human lives at stake, people who need help, I will not be silenced. We will not be silenced. On October 7th, we mourned the brutal slayings of our Israeli brothers and sisters, and across the country, bodies such as this one were quick to offer support to those victims, and that is rightfully so. Every single day since then has been punctuated with the catastrophic images of collective punishment perpetrated against the Palestinians by the Netanyahu regime. Yet there is silence and there is censorship when it comes to their plight, even as we witness war crimes in real time. I have often encouraged this body to make decisions on data. The display I brought in was to show you that data. I had 15,000 cotton balls. And I know the numbers are constantly being revised, but there is approximately one cotton ball for every person, both Israeli and Palestinian, who has died in conflict or lost under the rubble since October 7th. Because beneath the yarmulkes and the hijabs, despite their names and their faith, every single life lost has been human. They were like cotton balls, just every single one the same. And every life that has been lost in this conflict thus far has been failed by American leadership, by Israeli leadership, by Palestinian leadership. Just 1 minute, please. I had a container with 150 cotton balls that was also taken away. It's the most liberal estimate that we had for the number of Hamas operatives that were killed by Israeli forces, and I don't understand why the hopes and the dreams of 15,000 people had to be extinguished just to destroy such a small amount of people. If after all of this, you sit there and you think that, well, we have humanitarian pauses, things are better now, know that for the innocent civilians, those whose lives have been decimated by the conflict, there is no humanity in a 4-hour pause. It is simply an opportunity for the Netanyahu regime to reload their weapons. Ceasefire now.
Mahak Jamil.
Good evening. My name is Mahak Jamil. I'm your neighbor, an attorney, a local board member, a mother, also a human. I stand before you this evening to unequivocally demand a ceasefire in the unconscionable genocide of Palestinians. I was last in Palestine 10 years ago, in 2013, for human rights work. I will never forget the feeling of being arbitrarily held behind the metal gates of military checkpoints, even as a blue passport-toting American, while my white colleagues breezed through. I will never forget the feeling of being denied access to various sites throughout the West Bank, while again my colleagues were ushered in without question. And yet, I only felt those awful feelings for 2 weeks. At the end of my project there, I got to come back home to New York and resume the freedom of movement I had taken for granted as a basic right owed to me. Palestinians have no such luxury. There are layers to the systems of oppression Israel has subjected them to, from the targeting of journalists, both with bullets on the ground and with blocking their reach on social media, to the collective punishment being unleashed on over 2.2 million people, over half of whom are children, and nearly 75% of whom have been internally displaced. Israel has imposed a full air, land, and sea blockade on Gaza. Palestinians do not have free access to food, water, medicine, or humanitarian aid. Israel arbitrarily cuts off electricity, imposing full blackouts. It has dropped phosphorus bombs in civilian areas and has repeatedly bombed hospitals. The death toll for Palestinians has topped 12,000 humans. Nearly 5,000 were children. And the socioeconomic toll is impossible to fathom. 45% of Gaza's housing units have been damaged or destroyed. More than half of Gaza's educational facilities have been damaged, with no students able to access education. More than half of the hospitals are out of service. The majority of the water sewage plants are out of service, and poverty is expected to rise almost 40% due to the war. Doctors Without Borders calls it a chronic humanitarian crisis turned into a catastrophe. Other human rights organizations have classified Israel's actions as flagrant violations of international law, as violent war crimes that must cease. There is a case before the International Human Court as we speak, urging the body to investigate Israel for apartheid and genocide. And still, our government continues to provide unconditional, full-throated support for Israel. A package of over $14 billion is before Congress right now. It's unconscionable. What's worse, the war abroad has had a chilling effect on freedom of speech here in America. People are being censured for supporting Palestinian liberation, criminalized for resistance language, suspended from schools, and fired from jobs. Pro-Palestine language is being wrongfully and dangerously conflated with anti-Semitism and pro-terrorist speech. This conflation, I'm almost done. This conflation is manipulative, baseless, and has led to astronomical anti-Muslim sentiment and crime across our country, tearing the fabric of our society in ways in which we may not be able to mend. We cannot and we will not stand for this. And we call on you to represent our voices. Demand the US government cease funding for Israel, broker an immediate ceasefire with sufficient humanitarian aid, and end the occupation of Palestine. Thank you.
Peter Cook. Peter Cook.
My name is Peter Cook. I'm the Executive Director of the New York State Council of Churches and also a resident in Albany County. And I'm here to speak in favor of the establishment of a housing trust fund. We in Albany County have an affordable housing crisis. 50% of New Yorkers have to spend more than 30% of their income on housing. Many New Yorkers have to spend 40, 50, even 60% of their income on housing. This is just unbecoming for our state and our county. We are also suffering from the problem of redlining. While redlining is outlawed, we have credit deserts where we are not sufficiently putting investment back in communities where we extracted wealth to help low and moderate income homeowners recapture wealth. And I would also say that as a pastor and somebody who works very hard on helping faith-based properties convert to affordable housing all over the state of New York, there's a lot of untapped property, faith-based property, that could be better utilized if they had a little bit of money to find proper legal and architectural representation to leverage private developer dollars. So we have in this county a mismatch between a lot of affordable housing dollars that could be accessed, but we can't access them because we can't invest smaller amounts of money to leverage those larger dollars. So a trust fund is a very efficient, thoughtful approach to bridging a gap that we have in our system of building affordable housing. It's a way to invest in our communities with small amounts of money to attract much larger amounts of money. And it really would help stop the damage that is being done to us economically and as citizens because we don't have the right kind of affordable housing. It's just crazy that we can't do this. And finally, I would just like to offer a word of support to our Palestinian friends here. There's something the matter when we were sending $14 billion to Israel to kill people, and we can't figure out how to use that money to invest in our people here. So we need a ceasefire now.
Roger Markovics.
My name is Roger Markovics. My wife Maria and I have been living here in Albany for 50 some odd years, and for most of that time we were involved in affordable housing issues, primarily through the United Tenants of Albany. And we're long retired now, but we still continue to work on the same issues because, as Peter Cook said just before me, that we all are still wrestling with the after effects of decades of redlining and discrimination based on race that has plagued our entire society. And it's going to take decades for us to reinvest and to correct that. And that, so the Housing Trust Fund that Peter Cook mentioned is one way of doing it. The amount of money needed to develop affordable housing and to maintain it and to preserve its affordability on a long-term basis, permanently, whenever possible. That's so very complicated and so overwhelming, it's easier to say, oh, no, we just can't do that. But instead of cursing the darkness, we should light the candle of raising money locally here through different sources to develop and preserve affordable housing. And that's what a Housing Trust Fund does. There are hundreds of housing trust funds on the municipal, county, and state levels throughout the country. Even in New York State calls its housing programs a housing trust fund. It really isn't, because a housing trust fund needs to be something that replenishes itself from designated sources of revenue that haven't been tapped for affordable housing. Because all of us in the community have to, in one way or another, through our occupations and through our businesses, need to be investing in affordable housing in a way that's going to have permanent consequences. And so we have a plan of working on this. And I just want to remind you that there was an effort that produced quite a bit back in the early aughts, from 2007, 2006, 2007, and 2008, where the county was doing so well in its auctions that they allocated $300,000 each year to go into nonprofit development and maintenance of housing, and to do it in working with the community to do it through nonprofits, through the housing authorities in different communities. And it was allocated in 2008, but that's the year that the housing market crashed, and now it's called the Great Recession, I guess it is. So that was in that effort. We need to do something like that, but far more extensive. So, and the final thing I want to say is I'm proud of the pharmacist, Zarina, who from Lincoln Pharmacy. That's the pharmacy I go to, Maria and I, and we understand the pain and the suffering that's going on in Gaza, and need to have the ceasefire now, and to have and the imbalance of loss between the people in Gaza with the people who the Israeli government is talking about who was killed by the invasion from Hamas, and that imbalance is so imperfect that I applaud them and thank them very much for standing up the way they have. Thank you.
Maria Markovics.
Hi, I'm Maria Markovics, and I live in Albany. I'm here on behalf of Housing for All. Housing for All is a network of individuals and groups that work on policies that promote affordable housing throughout Albany County. And, as people have said, and as you all know, there is a desperate need for affordable housing in Albany, both rental units and home ownership opportunities. I don't think there's any place, any subsidized housing development within the county that doesn't have a long waiting list of people who want to get a unit there. Now, there are nonprofit groups that are working to develop more affordable housing, both rental and home ownership, like Habitat, like the Albany Community Land Trust, but they really do need help. And that help can come in the form of a housing trust fund to bridge the gap between the high costs and what's affordable. And the time to do it is now. I mean, the housing crisis is serious and severe. And as you can see, homelessness is growing. And it's time now to put money into a housing trust fund, some ongoing revenue source. Be creative, but let's do something. Thank you.
Christine Chudd.
Thank you. My name is Christine Schutte, and I'm the Executive Director at Habitat for Humanity Capital District. I'm also an Albany County and City of Albany resident. And we know that this isn't a budget hearing, and so I just wanted to explain a little bit more about what the Housing Trust Fund is, how it's really a creative model that we can set up to meet all of our housing goals here in Albany County. You've already heard about the housing crisis in Albany. You've had tenant advocates talk about the need for emergency rental assistance. In this chamber, you've also heard about the high costs to rehabilitate vacant buildings, and the cost of new construction is increasing just as quickly. Rents are rising, home prices are soaring, and more of our neighbors are being shut out every day. So housing trust funds, I think, can help us address these issues. They're flexible funds that localities can use to develop and preserve affordable housing. They are capitalized, and this is really important, Roger touched on this, they are capitalized not by annual budget appropriations, but through ongoing, sustainable, dedicated sources of revenue. And they're not new to Albany County, like Roger also said. We had one back in 2007, 2008, and while it funded a lot of really great projects in the region, it didn't have that ongoing sustainable source of revenue. The good news is that there are 765 examples of successful housing trust funds in this country that raise over $3 billion a year to support affordable housing priorities. And I believe this is within our reach. Housing trust funds give the county, flexibility to determine our priorities, to determine our greatest needs, and to see what types of housing support we can build in our community. The National Association of Counties says that a dedicated source of revenue can be a catalyst for accomplishing affordable housing goals. It can help raise money to implement the strategies outlined in the county's Blight to Betterment report, providing critical money for disinvested neighborhoods and areas throughout Albany County. I also believe that the creation of a housing trust fund will give us a leg up as being designated a pro-housing community by New York State, which will further unlock funding for our community. But most importantly, it will provide meaningful resources to help neighbors in need of better housing. I'm here on behalf of more than a dozen Albany County housing providers to call for the creation of an Albany County Trust Fund. And I look forward to talking with you more about best practices, strategies for implementation, and how we at Habitat for Humanity can help make this happen. Thank you.
Paul Miller.
I'm Paul Miller. I reside in the town of Gilwin. I want to thank everybody for letting me speak tonight. I'll let others talk about the specific problems of switching to touchscreen voting machines, which I strongly object to due to potential problems with lack of paper trail, among other problems. However, I'd like to address several other points, the first one being the consolidation of election districts that occurred this year. I left a photo on each of your desks, and the photo taken by a friend of mine in the town of Colony election district, taken about 11:30 on election day by a friend. Friend never had to wait in line like this prior to consolidation, and that includes in presidential elections where turnout is much higher. He left rather than wait in that line, which was moving slowly. He went back at dinner time thinking lines would be better, and they weren't, so he never did get to vote. Are we trying to outdo other states where hours-long lines are commonplace? The voter suppression is not acceptable and will only get worse if we switch to touchscreen machines that many people are not familiar with. Second point is, according to the executive budget of the county, we purchased 50 additional ballot on demand units this year. These would be obsolete if we switched to touchscreen voting machines. Lastly, if we're going to upgrade to new election equipment, we shouldn't do that in a presidential year, which is historically our highest turnout election, where many voters who only vote every 4 years vote. Thank you for your time.
Taymor Naki.
Good evening. Thank you for your time. My name is Taymor Naki. I am the Vice President of Al Hidayah Center, which is located in Latham. We are one of the largest mosques in the area. A week ago today, we held a meeting with Congressman Paul Tonko, during which we asked for 4 clear things. I am here tonight representing the Muslim community of the Capital District to ask this legislative body to pass a resolution similar to what we requested from Mr. Tanco. The purpose of the resolution would be, number one, to call for an immediate ceasefire in the violence that is ongoing and afflicting Gaza. Number two, we are asking for an uptick in the amount of humanitarian aid that enters Gaza, which can't occur without the necessary pause. Number three, we're asking for a resolution recognizing that what the Palestinians have historically endured meets the textbook definition of a genocide. And last but not least, number four, we are calling for your support for those that speak out in advocacy of Palestinians and those that are suffering in Gaza right now. What those individuals have experienced recently is slander, defamation, punishment, and persecution for simply speaking out for the rights of those in Gaza. We have not received yet the resolution that we asked for from Mr. Tanco. We are here requesting a similar resolution from you. While we understand that such a resolution would be symbolic in nature only, it has been our experience that symbolic gestures have ultimately resulted in meaningful action, whether it's on the part of our local politicians, statewide politicians, or federal politicians. We ask you for that resolution tonight. With me, I also have a petition that members of New York State have signed. It's been open for approximately 10 days. I will leave that with the chairperson. I would request that everyone in this legislative body take the time to look at all of your constituents that have signed this in support of those in Gaza and respond to our plea for a resolution symbolic in nature calling for an immediate ceasefire. Thank you.
Ahmed Abu.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Ahmed Abu Hakma. I've spent my entire life helping improve the human condition and saving people's lives, whether that was helping people with osteoarthritis as a researcher, or keeping RPI open by running a COVID testing facility, or working in pharmaceuticals where I work on life-saving medicine. And I'm here doing the same exact thing, requesting a ceasefire in Gaza immediately. Okay. So what was said already, what we're seeing right now in Gaza is a textbook case of genocide. I know when you see me say that, maybe you don't think that that's a substantiated claim. So go to the scholars of genocide. Go to those who have studied the Israeli Holocaust, Raz Segal being one of them. He says this is a textbook case of genocide. I don't understand what is so complicated and why it's so difficult to speak the truth on this matter. It shouldn't be difficult. What is complicated about bombing a hospital? What is complicated to understand about bombing a UN shelter? What is complicated about understanding when it comes to bombing a refugee camp? What is complicated when it comes to bombing churches? What is complicated when it comes to bombing mosques? What is complicated when it comes to starving people? I have with me here a piece of bread. I spoke to my friend whose sister is in Gaza. She said the food they give us in Gaza for a family is not enough for one person. She had a family of 5. So you take this piece of bread and you cut it into 4 or 5 pieces to feed the whole family. But you know what? She's not a family of 5 anymore. She lost 2 of her kids, so this piece of bread can go much farther away now. What's complicated about that? I don't see anything complicated about that. You want to say it's Hamas, it's always Hamas? Well, in 2018 and 19, the people of Gaza marched peacefully for an entire year. 223 of them were killed, marching peacefully. You want to say it's Hamas in the West Bank? There is no Hamas. Over 100 have been killed since October 7th. You want to say it's Hamas? You want to say history started October 7th? There are those who think this started October 7th. Before October 7th, none of the water in Gaza is potable. I brought my 7-year-old daughter with me here. If she was growing up in Gaza, she would be shrinking from malnutrition. If you have children, what's so complicated about that? So what I'm saying right now is we don't need sound bites. We don't need sound bites from our president that says, don't make the same mistakes we made in Iraq, in Iraq. But at the same time, here's $14.5 billion to keep bombing people. Let's use the same humiliating language to describe the Palestinians that we use to describe the people of Iraq. Because we're walking down the same path, and actions speak louder than words. We need our elected officials to pressure those to make the right decisions, even if it's not popular with powerful donors. I encourage you to be on the right side of history, because I swear to you, the books of history will absolutely get this right. They will eventually call this a genocide, and you do not want to be on the wrong side. In closing, I have two things to say. I want to quote to you Miko Peled. Miko Peled's grandfather signed the Israeli Declaration of Independence. His father was the foremost military general in the IDF, and he left the IDF after his army failed to examine war crimes that he knows they committed. He said, after his niece was killed in a suicide bombing attack by a Palestinian, he said to the prime minister, why don't we tell the truth that this tragedy and other tragedies happen and will continue to happen because we are occupying the land of the Palestinians, and if we want a just future, that we might as well and we should treat them with dignity. Thank you.
Tom Ellis.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Tom Ellis. I live on North Pine Avenue in the city of Albany, and I'm here to support the other speakers who have called for a ceasefire. Today I drafted a... I'm not a Palestinian, but I've been a member of a local Palestinian rights group since 1982, and I have permission from some local Palestinians to speak on their behalf. Not all, of course. And I wrote a sample proclamation that I'd like you to consider. Okay. Whereas cruelty is never acceptable. Whereas every war is inevitably a war on children. Whereas murdering children is never acceptable. Whereas terrorizing children is never acceptable. Whereas a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas will hopefully stop the killings on both sides. Whereas a ceasefire reduces tensions and increases safety for all. Whereas a ceasefire reduces the likelihood of a larger, more destructive regional or even a world war. Whereas a ceasefire will allow residents of Israel and the Gaza Strip to return to their homes or what remains of them. Whereas a ceasefire will allow for the delivery of desperately needed humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip. Whereas a ceasefire will facilitate the restoration of electricity to Gaza Strip hospitals, clinics, and schools. Whereas a ceasefire will facilitate a prisoner exchange and the release of Americans held by Hamas. Whereas a ceasefire will allow pregnant Gaza Strip women to deliver their newborn babies in safe and dignified conditions. Whereas a ceasefire will allow for Gaza Strip residents to get a good night's sleep for the first time in more than a month. Whereas a ceasefire might spark negotiations to finally resolve the 100-year conflict between Israel and the Palestinians. Whereas a ceasefire might allow for the election of new Israeli and Palestinian leaders. Whereas a ceasefire might be the best way to quickly reduce anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. Therefore, on this 13th day of November 2023, the Albany County Legislature enacts this proclamation calling for an immediate ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. The clerk of the legislature will immediately forward this proclamation to the President of the United States, members of Congress who represent New York, the Governor of New York, and all members of the New York State Legislature. Thank you.
Chairman, there are no more speakers.
Is there anyone else in chambers who wishes to speak? I have two more speakers. You'll be last, sir. Thank you. Please come up and put your name in the book.
thank you for permitting me to speak about the County Health Department budget and policies. Congratulations to Mr. Beston and other re-elected representatives of our county government. On the proposed County Health Department budget page, the Healthy Capital District Initiative will expand public health and safety programs to our neighbors, especially those with chronic health problems living in our 23 designated disadvantaged areas in our county. Prior to the pandemic, the initiative issued a 2016 Community Health Needs Assessment prioritizing chronic diseases as a public health problem. During our pandemic recovery, the initiative issued a 2022 Healthy Capital District Community Health Conversations report indicating housing conditions must improve for our neighbors' comprehensive public health and safety. Within this proposed 2024 budget, the initiative advocates a long-term education and training strategy for municipal governments to administer residential building codes to attain and sustain healthy living conditions. I think the New York State Environmental Public Health Tracking Program can enhance the county health department to identify locations within the 23 designated disadvantaged areas where surviving victims with chronic health problems are recovering from the pandemic. Inclusion of the State Department of Health's action plan to promote a healthy and safe environment within the Healthy Capital District Initiative can assist our county to advocate for technical and financial assistance to improve and expand congregate cooling centers with capacity for our neighbors seeking to cool off during our global warming crisis and protect their health during extreme heat events. Oh boy. Advocacy for the County Office of Emergency Management to utilize the New York State Disaster Preparedness Commission's authorized emergency support functions, especially number 8, Public Health and Medical Services, and number 6, Mass Care, Emergency Assistance, Housing, and Human Services, can assist with successful application for federal and state government funds to protect the lives of our neighbors. Application by the Office of Emergency Management to FEMA's Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities program before February 24th, which is the deadline, can improve installation of non-nuclear, renewable energy, electrical production, and storage systems to operate energy-efficient HVAC technology within congregate cooling centers.
This time, sir.
It's possible. Finished?
Yeah, if you want to close.
Oh, okay. Cooperation among municipal governments, nonprofit organizations, and interfaith congregations in partnership with the Northeast chapter of the American Red Cross and Capital Region organizations active in disaster can accelerate establishment of cooling centers. Municipal governments participating in the State Department of Environmental Conservation's Climate Smart Community Program are empowered with technical and financial means to access the supply chain for energy-efficient HVAC technology and energy storage units. The County Office of Emergency Management can submit a consolidated funding application to the Capital Region Economic Development Council for monies through NYSERDA's Carbon Neutral Community Economic Development Fund and the Energy Efficient Program Fund. The inclusion of a government commitment to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by deleting dependency on toxic fossil fuel electric generators as backup to external power grid blackouts at the cooling centers may enhance approval of the applications.
That's time, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Hi, everybody. I'd like to preface this by just saying I actually don't have a speech prepared. I'm really only here because a friend of mine was speaking, and I came to support him. I actually don't know who any of you guys are. I don't really know what this meeting is, but if I've ever seen a room full of people that can probably make a difference in this world, I would picture this room. My name's Dr. Nabil Minhas. I'm actually an emergency medicine doctor at St. Peter's Hospital. I've worked at Ellis Hospital. I've worked at Samaritan. I've worked at Albany Memorial Hospital. I have definitely treated members in this community. There's a pretty good chance I've probably treated your friends and your family members. I was actually in Brooklyn in 2020 when COVID-19 hit. When people ask me what that was like, it's hard to explain. We were understaffed. We were sharing oxygen tanks between patients. We had patients lying on the floor. We had to convert our pediatric emergency room, waiting room, to a unit just to treat, just to let the elderly patients that we deemed unsalvageable to place them on oxygen and let them die alone because there was nowhere else to place them. When I tried to explain this to people so that they can imagine what that was like and to tell them about the most horrific things I've ever seen or experienced as a doctor, I tell them to imagine a war-torn country hospital and imagine what that would look like. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you can now see what that looks like if you turn on the news. What I went through is not even comparable to what those doctors and nurses and those hospitals are dealing with right now. They're getting bombed outside. There's fires around them. They have no fuel. I cannot imagine what it would be like to treat anybody if the power went out for 5 minutes. 2 weeks ago, we had epic shutdown, and the whole ER was chaos. They have no electricity. They have patients with limbs coming off that they cannot even give pain medications to. There are babies, premature infants there that need to be on 24/7 nutrition, 24/7 care, in an incubator, and they're lying on a stretcher with nothing. I don't care if you support Israel. I don't care if you are anti-Hamas. I do not care about any of that. I care about those children, those babies. Those are my patients, and I made a Hippocratic oath to save my patients, and this country and Israel is not letting that happen, and please just support the babies, save the babies. I hope that you all can sleep in peace tonight, because we all know there's people in this world that cannot. Thank you, everybody.
Public forum is now closed. Call our November meeting to order. I'd like to ask Sean Ward, who just recently celebrated a birthday, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Happy birthday, Mr. Ward. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Beston. Bergdorf. Chapman. Clay. Clary. Collins. Camiso. Cunningham. Demolowitz. Drake. Efacoro. Ethier. Feeney. Fine. Grimm. Andrew Joyce.
Here.
Ray Joyce. Cohn. Lakakis. Lockhart. Murriello. Mayo. McLaughlin. McLean Lane. Miller. O'Brien. Pearlie. Peter. Plosky. Plosky. Reedy. Reinhardt. Ricard. Rosano. Simpson. Smith. Tunney. Ward. Whalen. Willingham. I have 34 present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'd like to make note of additional sponsors with the clerk. First item under previous business.
Establishing a policy requiring the use of American Sign Language interpreters at all Albany County government press conferences held during emergency situations.
All those in favor? Opposed? 444 passes, unanimous. 448, please.
Amending the 2023 Albany County budget to provide the Department of Parks and Recreation with funding to enhance parks and facilities throughout Albany County.
The budget code was corrected on 448. We're voting on the corrected version that appears on your desk. All those in favor? Opposed? 448 passes unanimous. Before we get too further down to the agenda, we did just take the roll. I wanted to note that Mr. Kuhn is excused tonight because he's becoming a bone marrow donor tonight. So keep him in your wishes and in your thoughts. Very good of him to do that. $449, please.
Amending the 2023 Albany County budget to provide the Veterans Service Bureau with funding to enhance non-for-profit veteran services providers.
As in 448, for 449, the budget code was corrected. We're voting on the corrected version that appears on your desk. All those in favor? Opposed? 449 passes unanimous. $487, please.
Public hearing on proposed local law number F for 2023, a local law of the County of Albany, New York, amending Chapter 106 of the Albany County Code, setting forth requirements for location of substance abuse treatment facilities within Albany County.
The sponsor of the local law related to this public hearing resolution updated the language this afternoon and it's been sent to your devices. All those in favor? Opposed? Public hearing on proposed local law number F for 2023 passes unanimous. 488, please.
Authorizing an agreement with Rico Americas Corporation regarding the lease and maintenance of high-speed and color copiers for the County of Albany.
All those in favor? Opposed? 488 passes unanimous. 489, please.
Authorizing an agreement with Appalachia regarding the purchase of road salt for snow and ice removal on county roads and state highways.
All those in favor? Opposed? 489 passes unanimous. 490, please.
Authorizing an agreement with the New York State Governor's Traffic Safety Committee regarding the Child Passenger Safety Program.
All those in favor? Opposed? 490 passes unanimous. 491, please.
Amending the 2023 Water Purification District budget, overtime.
All those in favor? Opposed? 491 passes unanimous. 492, please.
Authorizing an agreement with High Voltage Electric Service for the replacement of a failed voltage switch at the Water Purification District North Plant and amending the 2023 Water Purification District budget.
All those in favor? Opposed? 492 passes unanimous. 493, please.
Authorizing an agreement with High Voltage Electric Service regarding the replacement of a voltage switch at the District North Plant Return Sludge Building.
All those in favor? Opposed? 493 passes unanimous. 494, please.
Authorizing agreements with Direct Energy Business regarding the supply of natural gas for various county facilities.
All those in favor? Gotcha. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, 494 passes with one abstention. 495, please.
Amending Resolution Number 396 for 2023 regarding the purchase and delivery of a used stripping truck.
Striping truck. All those in favor? Opposed? I know, it was funny, but all those in favor? Opposed?
Striping.
495 passes unanimous. Thank you. 496, please.
Authorizing an agreement with Trinity Alliance of the Capital Region regarding the provision of family and neighborhood resource center services.
All those in favor? Opposed? 496 passes unanimous. 497, please.
Author an agreement with Children's Health Home of Upstate New York regarding reimbursement of Medicaid care management services provided to children in Albany County.
All those in favor? Opposed? 497 passes unanimous. 498, please.
Authorizing an agreement with the New York State Office of Children and Family Services and Bright Side Up regarding registration services and administrative costs.
All those in favor? Opposed? 498 passes unanimous. 499, please.
Authorizing an agreement with Peter Young Industries regarding emergency and transitional shelter services for homeless single women.
All those in favor? Opposed? 499 passes unanimous. 500, please.
Authorizing an agreement with Equinox regarding non-residential domestic violence services.
All those in favor? Opposed? 500 passes unanimous. 501, please.
Authorizing an agreement with Interface Partnership for the Homeless regarding emergency and transitional shelter services.
All those in favor? Opposed? 501 passes unanimous. 502, please.
Authorizing an agreement with Interface Partnership for the Homeless regarding emergency and transitional shelter services at the South Ferry Shelter.
All those in favor? Opposed? 502 passes unanimous. 503, please.
Authorizing an agreement with Interface Partnership for the Homeless regarding emergency and transitional shelter services at Mercy House.
All those in favor? Opposed? 503 passes unanimous. 504, please.
Authorizing an agreement with St. Catherine's Center for Children, Murlock residents regarding the provision of family shelter services.
All those in favor? Opposed? 504 passes unanimous. 505, please.
Authorizing an agreement with Pine Ridge Industries for the provision of employment success coaching.
All those in favor? Opposed? 505 passes unanimous. 506, please.
Authorizing an agreement with Capital Area Council of Churches regarding seasonal emergency and transitional shelter services.
All those in favor? Opposed? 506 passes unanimous. 507, please.
Authorizing an agreement with the Altamont Program regarding emergency and transitional shelter services.
All those in favor? Opposed? 507 passes unanimous. 508, please.
Authorizing a lease agreement with the Mohawk Hudson Land Conservancy to establish two formal connections between the Bender Mellon Farm Preserve and the Albany County Rail Trail.
All those in favor? Opposed? 508 passes unanimous. 509, please.
Authorizing the acceptance of grant funding for the Department of Environmental Conservation for the purpose of developing and implementing the County Climate Action Plan.
All those in favor? Opposed? 509 passes unanimous. 510, please.
Authorizing an agreement with Braun Media regarding media and marketing services for the Shaker Place Rehabilitation and Nursing Center.
All those in favor? Opposed? 510 passes unanimous. 511, please.
Amending Resolution Number 209 for 2020 regarding pharmacy consulting services for the Shaker Place Rehabilitation and Nursing Center.
All those in favor? Opposed? 511 passes unanimous. 512, please.
Authorizing an agreement with the New York State Department of Health regarding the tuberculosis testing for asylum seekers grant and amending the 2023 Department of Health budget.
All those in favor? Opposed? 512 passes unanimous. We can group items 513 through 522. Can I have a motion to group? Motion by Mr. Bergdorf, seconded by Mr. Peter. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, motion to group passes unanimous. On items 513 through 522, all those in favor? Opposed? Items 513 through 522 pass unanimous. Similarly, we can group items 523 through 532. Can I have a motion to group? Motion by Mr. Ricard, seconded by Mr. Effercoro. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, motion to group passes unanimous. On items 523 through 532, all those in favor? Opposed? Items 523 through 532 pass unanimous. $533, please.
Amending Resolution Number 467 for 2022 as amended regarding the lease and delivery of Sheriff's Office patrol vehicles.
All those in favor? Opposed? 533 passes unanimous. 534, please.
Authorizing an agreement with Enterprise Fleet Management regarding a vehicle leasing program for the Sheriff's Office.
All those in favor? Opposed? 534 passes unanimous. 535, please.
Authorizing the submission of a grant application to an agreement with the State of New York Division of Criminal Justice Services for the 2020 Senate Majority Edward Byrne Justice Assistance Grant and amending the 2023 Sheriff's Office budget.
All those in favor? Opposed? 535 passes unanimous. 536, please.
Authorizing an agreement with the New York State Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Services regarding the 2023 Emergency Management Performance Grant and amending the 2023 Sheriff's Office budget.
All those in favor? Opposed? Denote my abstention. 536 passes unanimous with one abstention. 537, please.
Amending Resolution Number 46 for 2023 regarding the purchase and service of body cameras and accessories.
All those in favor? Opposed? Note my abstention. 537 passes unanimous with one abstention. 538, please.
Authorizing an agreement with the New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services regarding the 2023 State Homeland Security Program.
All those in favor? Opposed? Denote my abstention. 538 passes unanimous with one abstention. 539, please.
Authorizing an agreement with the New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services regarding the State Law Enforcement Terrorism Prevention Grant.
All those in favor? Opposed? Denote my abstention. 539 passes unanimous with one abstention. 540, please.
Authorizing an agreement with the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services regarding reimbursement for Raise the Age implementation.
All those in favor? Opposed? 540 passes unanimous. 541, please.
Repealing the existing residency requirement for Albany County employees and adopting a new limited residency requirement for select Albany County positions.
All those in favor? Opposed? 541 passes unanimous. 542, please.
Authorizing the submission of a grant application to an agreement with the Research Foundation for Mental Health Hygiene for grant funding and amending the 2023 Sheriff's Office budget.
All those in favor? Opposed? 542 passes unanimous. 543, please.
Amending the 2023 Sheriff's Office budget, year-end adjustments.
All those in favor? Opposed? 543 passes unanimous. 544, please.
Authorizing an agreement with the United States Department of Justice, Bureau of Justice Assistance regarding reimbursement for the incarceration of criminal aliens and amending the 2023 Sheriff's Office budget.
All those in favor? Opposed? 544 passes unanimous. 545, please.
Amending the 2023 Stormwater Coalition budget, enhanced pay.
All those in favor? Opposed? 545 passes unanimous. 546, please.
Authorizing the conveyance of county property by quitclaim deed and easement with Mohawk Hudson Land Conservancy regarding the Bender Mellon Farm Preserve Bridge over the Albany County Rail Trail.
All those in favor? Opposed? 546 passes unanimous. 547, please.
Authorizing the conveyance of real property located at 4852 Western Turnpike in the town of Guilderland.
All those in favor? Opposed? 547 passes unanimous. 548, please.
Authorizing the conveyance of real property located at 1185 Knox Cave Road in the town of Knox.
All those in favor? Opposed? 548 passes unanimous. 549, please.
Authorizing the conveyance of real property located at 312 Orange Street in the city of Albany.
All those in favor? Opposed? 549 passes unanimous. 550, please.
Authorizing an award of grant funding to Calibrant, New York regarding the solar power system located at 897 Watervliet Shaker Road in the town of Colony.
Mr. Joyce? Okay. Ms. McLaughlin? Okay. On 550, all those in favor? Opposed? Okay, 550 passes with one abstention. 551, please.
Authorizing an agreement with Interfaith Partnership for the Homeless regarding renovation and staff orientation at Mercy House in the city of Albany.
All those in favor? Opposed? 551 passes unanimous. We're on to local laws now. If you wanted to speak now, Carolyn, or at the end. Okay. All right. Local law G.
Local law number G for 2023, a local law of the County of Albany, New York, amending Chapter 242 of the Albany County Code to prohibit smoking and vaping at county properties and in county vehicles.
Thank you, Kevin. I just rise to very briefly say thank you to everyone in the committees who supported this legislation. You know, I recently was in the parking garage, and that morning I had to walk through cannabis smoke on the way into the office, and then again in the evening on the way out of the office. So knowing that this signage will go up and people are aware that this is something that we don't allow on county property, it's a matter of health and it's a matter of safety to a certain extent as well, and for people's quality of life. And I would like people to see Albany County and, of course, our communities as vibrant and beautiful and as wonderful as I do. And I just don't want to have to come to our communities and see in our public spaces owned by the county, consistent smoking and vaping. So thank you very much.
Okay, long roll call on local law G, please.
Beston. Yes. Bergdorf. Yes. Chapman. Yes. Clay. Yes. Cleary. Yes. Collins. Yes. Cunningham. Yes. Drake. Yes. Efacoro. Yes. Ethier. Yes. Feeney. Yes. Fine. Yes. Grimm. Yes. Andrew Joyce.
Yes.
Ray Joyce. Yes. Lakakis.
Yes.
Lockhart.
Yes.
Muriello.
Yes.
Mayo. Yes. McLaughlin. Yes. McLean Lane. Yes. Miller. Aye. Purley. Yes. Peter. Yes. Plosky. Yes. Reedy. Yes. Reinhardt. Yes. Ricard. Aye. Rosano. Yes. Simpson.
Evans, the co-sponsor, yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Tunney.
Yes.
Ward.
Yes.
Whalen.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Okay, local law G for 2023 passes unanimous. Mr. Reinhardt.
I've asked earlier to be added as a co-sponsor, and I didn't see my name on this version. I thought we all did.
So noted. Local law I for 2023.
A local law of the County of Albany, New York, establishing Chapter 225 of the Albany County Code setting forth requirements for resettlement disclosure in Albany County.
Mr. Bergdorf.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to actually sort of try to read a statement
I wanted to get it all in, and I didn't want to sort of go off on a few tangents. The better part of this year, New York State, even Albany County, has been dealing with a crisis unlike anything we've ever seen. The federally created migrant crisis. New York City is being overrun by migrants, and upstate, Albany County and Colony are the new border towns. This unprecedented influx of migrants has presented well-documented challenges for local governments, schools, law enforcement officers, health care, and our neighborhoods. The challenges are here in Colony. In my legislative district, over 170 new individuals, including children, are now residing in a local hotel off Wolf Road. We have dozens of children enrolled in the North Colony School District, which have been enthusiastically embraced by the district, but local taxpayers are picking up the tab. We have adults accused of committing crimes ranging from rape, assault, to theft. We have companies and hotel employees accused of mistreating the migrants themselves. Here in the county legislature, we've debated all these things at great length. Our Republican conference presented what I thought was thoughtful legislation months ago to prepare for the financial ramifications of this crisis on our county. That bill was rejected in a party line vote. I won't relitigate it, but by your vote, you told me that you do not want to know what cost New York City migrants and homeless will add to our budget. The majority just didn't want to know. Governor Hochul now wants to know. As we sit, she's preparing an executive order to capture all migrant-related costs. What a difference a month or two can make. At the last audit and finance meeting, Chairwoman Willingham said we would be getting a report of all migrant-related costs. I haven't seen it, but it's what we asked for months ago, and maybe someone will let us know when it will come, and if it will come, before we actually consider budget additions and deletions. Now we're debating the second proposal, to require disclosure when the next resettlement inevitably occurs in our communities. I won't go into all the changes made at the request of the Democrat majority over the last 3 months, but we've made them all, including the ones that were asked of me personally by your members. We asked if there were any more changes or issues. And then, other than one member, who I actually have tremendous respect for, Jeff Kuhn, who told me he just didn't support the concept, not one person stepped forward to say they had other issues or problems with a pure notification bill, letting communities know if people were coming into their community. Not one person. We asked if there were more changes. We got none. Let's erase the politics of this issue and once and for all ask for ourselves. Wouldn't you like to know when a bus carrying hundreds of unvetted individuals arrives in your community, whether it's Gilderland or Green Island or Cohoes or Bethlehem or the city of Albany? We didn't get that courtesy. I asked my colleagues, both new and old, especially the ones from Colony, Ellen and Dave and Allison and soon-to-be member Sue Rillar, why, when folks arrive from New York City in the next wave that will be coming to Colony, what are you going to tell your constituents? We didn't want to know they were coming?
You have 1 minute, Mr. Bergdorf.
I will take the amount of extra time that the folks who got before took. I am very close to the end.
Okay, good.
Thank you. Folks from Bethlehem were clear. They told us in Colony, we just need to get over it, and let's get ready for the next wave. That was their response. We have a county budget due in a number of weeks. Whether or not we would agree with migrant resettlements, they happen, and we need to prepare. With that happening again, we can't afford to stick our heads in the sand. We need to know that we can prepare for the effects on education, public safety, and fiscal plan. Let's take the partisan politics out of this. This is about each of us and who we are elected to represent. I've tried to keep my politics out of your legislation. I've supported programs for MWBE participation and even banned the box when I thought they were the right thing to do. I supported taxation and open space preservation in Bethlehem and Gilderland when I thought that was the right thing to do. I supported land transfers to the Cohoes IDA for redevelopment because it was the right thing to do. I even supported a HUD grant for the city of Albany, which was opposed by my conference because I thought it was the right thing to do. While I had concerns about the cost and process, I supported my colleagues in the South End. And you know something? What I'm asking for now, is to see if any of you can stand up to the political dogma and say a community has the right to know when New York City is sending folks who are homeless or migrants to their communities. A vote against this is a vote against all our cities, towns, and constituents in Albany County. Do you think this is the right thing? Vote with your constituents. It's just common sense, and it's the right thing to do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm done.
Mr. Grimm.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise in support of Mr. Bergdorf's legislation. This is about transparency. We're not in the business of keeping secrets from people. If there's going to be a new arrival, we should be, especially as elected officials, we should be told so we can share this information with anyone else. So I think this is simply a clear case of transparency that we should support, and we should not be in the business of keeping secrets. Thank you.
Mr. Drake.
I rise briefly in support. In speaking with people, most recently in the last few weeks before the election, I found two things in common with every household. And of course, I'm representing Latham Town and Colony. I'm representing a school district that a lot of migrants moved into. Everybody had the same thing to say, I can tell you this. One, great to see people are getting here and they're getting support, but two, we don't like we weren't told. We don't like that no one knew. We don't like things in the dark of night. As Legislator Grimm just said, transparency, very important to my constituents, and I support it. Thank you.
Ms. McLean-Lane.
Thank you very much. I guess I would like to discuss politics this evening. That last piece of legislation, which was not supported by many members in this body that was put forth regarding how much that was going to cost, ended up being a political piece in at least the town of Colony. And I don't know if it was anywhere else. So it is clear to me now that it was really just meant for that purpose. That's my first one. Number two, the process by which these individuals came to our communities was not the result of the federal administration. It was the result of two governors in the south of our country who bussed these people from their states and sent them here, and also in the case of North Colony School District and Mr. Bergdorf's district, they came here as a private contract with a private owner of a hotel. We had no involvement with this. Capitalism, I guess, at its best. As I understand it from a meeting this morning, there will be no more coming to upstate New York. This apparently was due to the political backlash that occurred, so I'm not sure how necessary this is anymore. I did have a phone call with Mr. Bergdorf, and it was a little bit of an emotional phone call for me because I found out, unfortunately, how easy it is to get information about people's children out of school districts, because it happened to me. And it was in 2017, and it was horrible. And my concern is that no one needs to know how many children there are. And I applaud him for taking the ages out, but no one needs to know how many children there are. I have not heard from one single school district who has said, we need to know when they're coming, and we need to know how many, and we need to know, where they're going to be, where they lay their heads at night. I have not heard this call. However, I will be, though I do appreciate he took ages out, children are still listed in it. It is a very dangerous prospect, which I am highly uncomfortable with, and I am not somebody who's a vulnerable person. So I thank you, and I will be voting in the negative.
Okay, long roll call on local law I for 2023, please.
Beston.
No.
Bergdorf.
I for transparency.
Chapman. Clay.
No.
Cleary.
No.
Collins.
Yes.
Cunningham. Drake.
Yes. Sorry,
Epicoro.
No.
Ethier. Gill. Yes. Feeney.
No.
Fine.
No.
Grimm.
Yes.
Andrew Joyce.
No.
Ray Joyce. Lakakis.
No.
Lockhart.
Yes.
Mariotto.
Yes.
Mayo.
No.
McLaughlin.
No.
McLean Lane.
No.
Miller.
Nay.
Purley.
Yes.
Peter.
No.
Plosky.
No.
Reedy.
No.
Reinhardt.
No for privacy.
Ricard.
Nay.
What is that?
Nay.
Nay? No? Rosano.
No.
Simpson.
No.
Smith.
Yes.
Tunney.
Yes.
Ward.
No.
Whalen.
Yes.
I have 23 noes, 11 yes.
Okay, local law I for 2023 fails. 23 no, 11 yes. Ms. McLaughlin.
I want to rise and say, over a few things, few comments tonight. First, I want to say congratulations to everyone for their re-election and for those who are newly elected and will be joining us in the new year. And I also want to say thank you to the Audit and Finance Committee under the leadership of Deputy Chairman Willingham and Matt Peter for the fine work they did in conducting the hearings, and appreciate the hard work that you've done thus far. And I know that there's a lot that the committee will be deliberating on in the weeks ahead. So thank you for that work. I rise to respond to a number of things that have occurred in Albany County, in New York State over the last month. There have been a number of reports that have come out that reflect on conditions in our community. One that was brought to our attention by my colleague Bert Simpson, the report that came out by Attorney General Tish James on housing disparities in New York State, and specifically talking about the conditions here in the city of Albany and throughout this county, where as a person of color, you are 50% more likely to be denied a home loan when you are seeking home ownership.
higher interest rate. Add to that, the national studies that show that 30%, that my home in the same neighborhood as another person in the same neighborhood, the same home, same conditions, your home would more likely be valued 30% higher than my home as a person of color. This is data that's out there that you can all find, not something I'm making up here. You can go and look at HUD and find it. Look at the report that the Attorney General just put out. Albany, the city of Albany is second only behind, or the state of New York is second only behind Minnesota when it comes to housing disparities. HUD has put out studies over the years that said home ownership is more likely to lead to high school graduation, more likely to lead to college graduation, more likely to lead to a better lifestyle, a healthier lifestyle for individuals, and also more likely to contribute to neighborhoods being sustained throughout our cities. So when you look at those kinds of things and you look at that data, and you look at also what the kinds of things we've heard about tonight, the request for a housing trust fund, I mean, that it's all there for us, folks. We've really got to begin to think about how are we going to ensure that our community is sustained. We don't want there to just be individuals that get benefits. We want everyone, not just some of us, S-O-M-E. We want the sum of us, S-U-M. We want the sum of us to be able to benefit from services and resources and funding that is available for housing. And so I just felt that it's important for us to look at these ideas. Also, as I listen to all the issues that were discussed tonight, foreign and domestic ideas. You know, I've heard that people take an oath and they say we're going to defend the country, we're going to defend the county from foreign and domestic. When I listened tonight, I really had to take that seriously, because as we listen to individuals talking about their concerns for their families, friends and families that are in foreign countries, but think about how it's impacting us right in our neighborhoods. So we have a lot of responsibility as county legislators. And I would tell you, as I listen tonight, I have felt a real sense of responsibility like no other time as a member of this body in my first 4 years here. So these issues are very important to me, and I believe they all are to you. And if you want to look at, because all the issues that we heard tonight, they ultimately impact each and every one of our constituencies. It's not just one group, it impacts all of us. So I just want you to I'm able to stand here and see the intersection between these issues. The ceasefire request between Israel and Hamas, and the request for a housing trust fund, the request for privacy versus transparency as it relates to immigrants that are coming into our community. This, to me, is all about man's humanity or man's inhumanity to man. So we have got a lot to think about as we go forward with looking at our budget, because a lot of the things that were discussed tonight, we will be able to have some impact on. And as it relates to a proclamation or a resolution, I think I'm dying to have more information. I don't profess to be an expert on what's going on in Palestine and Israel. I'm not an expert on it. So I have to listen to what other people have to say, what other people are experiencing, so that when I say I stand with X, Y, or Z, I want to know what I'm talking about. I want to be comfortable with that decision. So I thank the community for coming out tonight and sharing their feelings, their hearts on their sleeves tonight, telling us what was going on and how it's impacting their community, because ultimately it does impact my community as well. So I just felt compelled to stand to say something tonight as we draw to a close of this year, and as Thanksgiving is coming up. There is so much that we in this room can be thankful for. But we also have an obligation, I believe, to make sure that other people have the opportunity to be able to give same thanks that we are able to give, because we live in a community, we live in a world, we live in a country where we don't have to worry about our hospitals being bombed. We don't have to worry about our schools being bombed or our neighborhoods being bombed out. I'm grateful for that tonight, but I also feel for the community that was here, that was represented tonight by the individuals that came in. So I just thank you for your indulgence, listening to what I had to say.
Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Mr. Feeney, second by Ms. Cunningham. All those in favor. Good night, everybody. Thank you.